No place like home for the holidays, and no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsden.
And I'm Jeb Searcy.
And I don't know. We don't have any special guests this week. We don't have any really thing fun to talk about or planned as we ramp up to our Halloween spooktacular in October.
Horror for the Holidays presents the Halloween Spooktacular, starring me and Jay.
Starring Courage, the Cowardly Dog, and Eustace Baggs.
Creepy stuff happens in the podcast.
Return the slab.
What's your offer?
All right, well, that's about enough silly stuff. Let's get into this really good movie. For this, we're going to deck the halls. We did 1984's Night of the Comet.
Ooh.
Released November 16th, 1984, kind of in that sweet spot you and I always talk about, the Thanksgiving, Christmas corridor kind of area.
Yes. At the right time, because it ran in the movie theaters for 6 weeks, so that means it was out till right before Christmas.
Oh man, that means you could have gone and seen it, like, right when the events of the movie are supposedly happening.
Oh, fun fact. When it came out, it actually beat Nightmare on Elm Street and The Terminator at the box office.
The second movie we've had that beat Nightmare on Elm Street in the box office.
It was number 3, Terminator was 4, and Nightmare on Elm Street was number 6 that week.
Written and directed by Tom Eberhardt. Not a lot to mention. I did see he also wrote Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, which, I mean, I think was the thing that stood out to me the most.
But, I mean, obviously very talented.
Yep. Did I say written and directed? I don't know if I did.
Yes.
Catherine Mary Stewart as Regina Reg Belmont, and Kelly Maroney as her sister Samantha Sam Belmont. I think we'll call them Reg and Sam.
The Reg, The Last Starfighter is probably what you would know her from, and lots of TV shows. And Sam, you would know her probably from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I
had Last Starfighter and Weekend at Bernie's, and then Sam, Fast Times, Chopping Mall, and both, I mean, have pretty consistently got work. Sadly, no other Christmas horror movies, so we'll probably never see them again. But
well, you might, because they're talking about remaking Night of the Comet.
Oh, maybe we'll do. Maybe we can find an excuse to do Chopping Mall too. Everyone loves Chopping Mall.
We'll find something. I heard. I don't know. The suits higher up said there might be a new show launching before too long. Might be able to talk about something like Chopping Mall in there.
Robert Beltran as Hector Gomez, who my friend PJ informs me people will know as Commander, and I don't know how to pronounce his name because I've never seen Voyager.
It's Chakotay.
Chakotay, all right.
He's a Maquis commander who's inadvertently stranded on Voyager when it gets blasted away from the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah, I've watched very little Star Trek.
He's a very solid character.
Okay.
And I mean, he's a good actor overall.
I mean, he's no Sisko.
Well, no,
Deep Space Nine is the only Star Trek I've seen a lot of.
Is anyone really a Benjamin Sisko? I don't know.
Character actor Sharon Farrell, who plays the girl's stepmother Doris Belmont, is from Sioux City, Iowa. And that's the only important thing I had about her. But maybe we always got to shout out those Iowa actors.
That could explain why she's such a bitch.
Mary Woronov, Audrey, works for the military. We've already seen once before in Silent Night, Bloody Night as Diane Adams, who famously asked Jeffrey Butler how old he was, and he responded, "Do you mean how many years have I lived?"
No. Oh, speaking of, or you reminded me with Silent Night, Bloody Night. Silent Night, Deadly Night was number 12 that week I was talking about earlier at the box office.
Yeah, that was the other movie I was thinking of that had beaten Nightmare on Elm Street in the box office. Filmed in L.A. Apparently the El Rey movie theater Reg works at is a real theater, which I just thought was kind of cool.
They also really filmed in downtown LA, but to keep the budget down, because this is an insanely low budgeted movie. And a lot of the actors will talk about that when they are interviewed about it. But one of the things they did was they used cops to like hold people at red lights so they could film, and then they would let traffic go like every few minutes, and then just reset and keep shooting in the like deserted areas. Because apparently that's way more cost efficient than closing down a piece of the city.
Or they would, I also read like would film really early in the morning, so like the streets were empty.
Let's say they would also film really late at night for the mall scenes, so that way the mall didn't have to be closed, and so that way they could keep costs down on that too.
A cool thing I read, Tom Eberhart wanted a comic book sensibility, which is kind of reflected in how the characters dress. Mm-hmm. The bad guys wearing like blues, grays, while the sisters are wearing like more brighter colors. And I thought that was just kind of cool.
Yeah, you could definitely see some comic book influences in this. And I thought like the matte paintings and like the miniatures for the military base and stuff like that were really cool and well done.
One of the first major PG-13 movies, which is funny because it has a direct, tie into our podcast. Because one of the reasons PG-13 movies exist is because of a little movie called Gremlins.
I've never heard of it.
This movie was also a inspiration for Buffy.
Mm-hmm. I did read that.
The clown in one of the scenes after the comet has come through is the same clown that Pee Wee Herman chains his bike to in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Damn that clown.
R.I.P. Paul Rubens.
Poor guy.
$700,000 budget, $14 million box office. That's a
hit.
That's a hit. Yeah,
that's an unqualified hit.
If you want to watch the movie, currently streaming on Tubi,
It's also free in HD on YouTube.
And can buy Blu-ray 4K copies. Just came out from Scream Factory. Probably if it's a good movie. Like we're not going to beat around the bush. It's worth buying.
Oh, I just want to make a quick note because I always forget about it and then rediscover it like every few months. YouTube Movies, subscribe to it, browse through it because they have a lot of free movies you can watch on there. No ads, and they're usually like really good, high quality HD copies.
Okay.
Like for a lot of these horror movies, it'll have like the Scream Factory, Shout Factory, or like Vinegar Syndrome release of it, just free on YouTube.
As we've always joked about seeing movies poorly released on YouTube.
It's actually how I found a Chuck Norris action movie with Christopher Lee for me and my dad to watch called An Eye for an Eye. It's free in an HD copy on YouTube.
I know also, we're getting as we're talking about it. I know like you could watch the black and white cut of The Mist on YouTube, which I think is a pretty cool little thing you can do.
Don't sleep on YouTube movies.
I didn't really have any previous experience with this movie. I had heard it mentioned a couple times. I'd seen it, when we were compiling our list initially, like.
The only thing I knew about it was I told my dad we were doing it, and he said, "Oh, that's a good one."
And then like what else? The fact that it's Night of the Comet. There's also Night of the Creeps. There's Night of the Living Dead. Like there's so many other movies with the same title. Like it's kind of one of those things that you hear and it just kind of slushes off the back of your brain because there's so many different movies.
Do not confuse this with Night of the Demon.
Right, exactly.
You'll be very disappointed.
But yeah, let's. Do you have anything else, or are you ready to get into synopsis?
No, I think I'll just reveal the rest of my facts as we go along.
All right. Well, we start off. We got a shot of space, and I'm gonna kind of read the voiceover. Kind of introduces the whole kind of idea behind the movie. Since before recorded time, it has swung through the universe in a elliptical orbit so large that its very existence remained a secret of time and space. But now, in the last few years of the 20th century, the visitor was returning. We get our title card, Night of the Comet. The voiceover continues as the comet is seen approaching Earth. The citizens of Earth would get an extra Christmas present this year as their planet orbited through the tail of the comet. Scientists predicted a light show of stellar proportions, something not on Earth for 65 million years. Indeed, not since the time of the dinosaurs disappeared virtually overnight. Then we see some scientists like shutting themselves in a bunker as the VO continues. There were a few who saw this as more than just a coincidence, but most didn't. And then we cut to like some kind of like big party scene. Looks very like New Year's Eve party kind of thing, as people are like holding up signs, woohoo, as like a song, as an 80s party song plays through, plays in the streets.
It's the night of the Comet.
And then we go into the El Rey movie theater, and we are introduced to our main character, Reg, as she's playing an arcade game. I think it was called Tempest. Was that what it said, I think?
I think that's what it is.
And she's getting chewed out by her boss because she's, not helping the customers, and instead she's playing this video game.
Go walk the theater.
And she gets mad at her boss, or she gets, as her boss Mel is yelling at her, she gets upset because she sees someone else's initials, DMK, on the leaderboard.
Uh-oh.
Because Reg has had, the entire leaderboard locked down, apparently, for a long time.
Garrett Bobby Ferguson?
She's told to, walk the theater. I think at one point she's like, they throw stuff at me. Milk duds, dots, those things hurt.
And he's like, whatever, go walk the theater.
Reg agrees to spend the night in the theater with kind of her boyfriend Dupree.
Yeah, just your local scumbag.
And calls her sister Sam to cover for her to their stepmom, to which their stepmom Doris is a huge bitch and slaps Sam.
Speaking of the slap was real because the fake slap didn't get the reaction the director wanted, and so Sam's just like, slap me for real.
and then that I saw that, and then it's made even funnier with just the fakest punch being thrown immediately afterwards.
Oh, it's great.
Do you have something else?
You forgot Mel's most important contribution to this film. After she walks away, he yells after her, "Hey, don't be going in the projection booth. He's doing to me what he's been doing to you in there."
Yeah, I had that as one of my quotes for the
fire
movie.
him someday.
The comet appears in the sky, and we get a funky 80s style light effect show as people are staring up into the sky. Looks really cool.
Yeah.
And then we get a brief moment where Reg and Dupree are spooning, and and she's like, it's steel lined, I feel, I feel like anyone could walk in at any time. But then he's like, baby, it's steel. Not even Superman could see through that. And she's like, it's lead, you nerd. Superman can't see through lead.
Oh, poor Dupree, local scumbag.
And so, remember that the room they're in is made of steel.
Yes, that is important.
The next morning, we see the desolate streets of LA as a car is standing still with the radio playing. It came upon a midnight clear, surrounded by piles of clothes filled with dust on the ground.
Bunch of weird dust around.
The reason they stuck around at night was Dupree was renting out the theater's copy of not John Carpenter's The Thing, but I think The Thing from Another Planet.
Yes, I believe that's what he was loaning out. But yes, apparently he's got a side business where he loans it out and makes a few $100s.
And so he's like, the guy's not back. I'm gonna go get it. And, and so he goes to leave, and someone's banging on the door. And as he's like, "Oh, you're here," and he opens the door, and some ghoulish looking blue faced man just attacks him with a pipe wrench.
Yes, excellent.
Reg gets locked out, or she finishes knocking DMK's name off the leaderboard.
Damn you, DMK!
And then goes outside and finds all these clothes on the ground and stuff like that. Comments on the sky and the clothes everywhere.
Yes.
And she's like, "Man, it's real smoggy today. Oh, look at all these clothes on the ground." And she as the door slams behind her, and then she goes, "I hate days that start like this." And my question for her was, how many days start exactly like that?
Well, I mean, it's LA, so red haze in the sky and a bunch of random clothes around probably aren't that strange.
Reg kind of is attacked by the same ghoul mutant zombie, kind of chewing on Dupree's arm. She's able to fight it off and get away on Dupree's motorcycle. She kind of drives through the empty streets of LA back to the empty car that we saw, now playing Jingle Bells. And then I thought it was kind of a cool little transition. And the car's playing Jingle Bells, and it's I think it's the very traditional Perry Como version. And then as she continues to drive, it almost turns into a synthy version of Jingle Bells. Yes. I thought that was kind of neat.
God, I love me some synth.
Reg arrives home to find the house empty, except for Sam, who is completely oblivious to what happened overnight and that everyone is missing.
I ran away from home and spent the night in the garden shed,
yep.
which is also made of metal.
Weird. I wonder if that'll come back later. Reg and Sam hear the radio still playing. The night before they miss, so apparently that means the night before they missed the DJ saying that he was going to like switch over to automation, so he can go out and see the comet too. So they're like, oh, well, we'll go, well, the guy at the radio station's still there. We'll go there to investigate. And that's when they discover that, oh, it's all automated. And that's when they meet Hector, who kind of gets in a, is basically, he's a little more aware of what's going on than the girls are. Mm-hmm. And so he tells like Sam to step into the light. He asks to see their eyes because, as we'll learn, the eyes are the first thing to kind of go.
As you degrade. Because, apparently if you weren't inside, there's no saving you. Even if you do get zombified, you slowly degrade into dust.
Yeah. And so this is when like Hector and Reg kind of put two and two together as like they kind of share their experiences. And this is where like Hector is like, well, I spent the night in the back of my truck. And then that's where Reg goes like, oh, I was in a steel room, Sam was in the steel garden shed. Like you were in your steel truck bed. Like we were, that's why we're all protected.
I was sleeping in my truck trailer. And then he's like, he goes away from everybody else and he breaks out his communicator and he's like, first officer's log. I've woken up on a fictionalized version of Earth. Aliens, ?
Sam gets on the radio and starts broadcasting since, there's no one else to talk to. So and also kind of a way to let people know that they're there.
Which lets some people they probably shouldn't have let know they're still alive.
Yep, they get a phone call from a government facility as they start to eavesdrop and talk about bringing the girls and Hector back to the government facility.
Yep.
That night, Sam is driving and gets pulled over by two motorcycle cops. She's like, oh, where were you guys earlier? Just for it to turn out that both of them are ghouls that attack her.
Fun fact, those are actually two of the cops who helped stop traffic to film there at night.
Very cool. Sam wakes up it turns out that was a nightmare. So she goes to the bathroom and starts trying to clean herself up. Only for the mutant cop to appear behind her and attack her again. Turns out it was a dream within a dream.
What is this? Nightmare on Elm Street?
Hector goes home to San Francisco to check on his mom, but finds the house empty, completely decked out for Christmas.
The family pictures in that house are actually the director's family.
I saw that too. I thought that was neat. That to me, it's like, oh, cool. That means like the person's mom was actually Tom Eberhardt's mom. He gets attacked by the neighbor kid who is now a mutant zombie.
Damn kids.
And at one point, Hector's like, "You're lucky. You're lucky. I like kids, or else I would have ended you, or something like that."
Just kill him. Get it over with.
And Hector then escapes through the bathroom window, which I think I commented to you, very similar to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, the only good Zack Snyder movie.
Classic move.
Come at me, Snyder Bros. At the government research base, Audrey notes that one of the side effects is memory loss. Before she's kind of pressured by one of her higher-ups to go into the city, we see two young kids arriving at the base in a helicopter, and Audrey seems very conflicted by the whole thing. Back in the city, Sam and Reg talk about things, what is going on with them. They kind of have a heart-to-heart. Sam is developing a rash, which I know, is stress induced. I think she kind of mentions that. She's like, I always
break out.
Yep. And also talk about how like every girl or every boy Sam has had a crush on, Reg is stolen from her or something like that.
Younger sister syndrome.
And then they go to the mall as Reg says, "Do you have your MasterCard with you?" "No." "Good, because the stores are open." As Girls Just Want to Have Fun starts to play.
Let's make an important note here. Before they were doing that, they were practicing shooting at abandoned cars. And unfortunately, they could only get their hands on a MAC-10 because Daddy would have got me an Uzi.
Like, we learned that Reg and Sam's dad is like a Green Beret and has basically trained his daughters to be like militant and stuff like that, which is kind of cool.
Yes, I mean, it's helpful.
Also, when I had never put together that "Let's go to the mall" from How I Met Your Mother is very clearly like girls just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I like heard the song and watched, two girls like go on a shopping spree through a mall that I went, oh shit, they're the same fucking song. So come on, Jessica, come on, Tori, let's go to the mall. You won't be sorry.
I prefer sand castles in the sand.
Oh, see, I like P.S. I love you. And so we get this big shopping montage. It's great. I mean, Girls Just Want to Have Fun is one of my favorite songs. Like,
and apparently the lady covering Girls Just Want to Have Fun in this does it in like 4 other things too.
And so they think they're alone, taking all these clothes from the mall, except they're being spied on by 4 guys in the security room.
Oh my god! And you don't want to know they've been red pilled.
Yeah. Elon was like, hey guys, get on Twitter here.
Don't you mean X?
No, we're never going to call it that. They attack, the guys attack the girls and they kind of battle throughout the mall. A really cool kind of fight scene.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it might be my favorite part of the whole movie. I had so much fun watching this part.
These guys play such good creeps too.
Sam gets captured and in return, Reg has captured one of the guys, but Willie, who is the leader, basically kills his own guy.
Yeah.
Like I think he's like,
I can't let you have one of my guys hostage.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, then we'll trade. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I can't let you have one of my guys hostage. And just shoots his own guy. The girls are captured, and Willie is toying with Sam. He's basically playing Russian roulette.
Yes.
I think he's like, let's play a game called "What's the Scariest Sound in the World?" As he spins the barrel and then pulls the trigger, and there's nothing in there.
This is why I said they're red pilled, because they've captured these women and they're like, now what?
Yeah, now what do we do with them? We got this far, and now we can't figure it out.
She's talking to me. I don't understand.
And so I think he puts the barrel like with the bullet lined up, gets ready to pull the trigger right as the military shows up and just unloads into him.
I think he pulls it like 3 times, then he opens it. He's like, "Oh yeah, it is loaded." Like I forgot or something.
Well, I mean, they do say that memory loss is one of the side effects.
That's true, and they are all very clearly exposed.
Yep, yeah, they're all wearing sunglasses for the majority of the time, and then at one point, like Willie takes off his sunglasses, and you see that his face is all deteriorated and stuff like that around the eyes. The government takes Reg with them, but because of Sam's rash, they think she is infected, but don't tell them that's what they think. They're like, "Oh, Sam's waiting for Hector." Like,
yeah. Well, because obviously Reg wouldn't leave. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to euthanize your sister."
Yep. Audrey gives Sam a shot tells her that it's for the rash, but Sam assures her that it's just stress induced before she starts, like she passes out and stops moving. Audrey then kind of gets in a fight with the other military guy that was left with her, and kills him before he has a chance to kill her.
Well, and his plan is to round up Hector when he eventually comes back.
Yep. Hector then shows up at the radio station wearing a Santa outfit.
Yes, one of the greatest moments of the movie.
I think Hector has so many costume changes, and they're all so much fun.
Honestly, I wonder what Robert Beltran is doing now, because Robert Beltran as a post-apocalyptic Santa would be pretty good.
Like, it's just every time I'm like, man, you had to think Robert Beltran had a blast just being like, yeah, I'll put on a Santa outfit later on, and we see him in a cowboy outfit.
Now I'm a cowboy. I have many forms.
Hector shows up at the radio station wearing a Santa outfit and finds Audrey. She says that she wrote it all down, but she's having trouble remembering stuff, and speaks about using blood to make a serum for the survivors, or from the survivors' blood. And then kind of says like everyone in the military bunker is infected, and
because they left the ventilation system open,
and
dust got inside.
Yep, and the dust got in. And she then doses herself with what we're led to believe is the same thing she dosed Sam with, and kills herself instead of becoming a zombie.
Yep.
At the military station, they begin running like kind of tests or like pre-tests on Reg, and we get like some great like back and forth where they're like, have you had hepatitis? No, but I had mono once. Like I got it from so and so. And then it's like, are you pregnant? She's like, well, I was scared. She's like, well, I had a pregnancy scare at one time. And he's like, so are you pregnant? No. And she's like, well, that's all I care about. She's like, I don't know. Those were the scariest 3 weeks of my life.
Yeah. Well, and I think also it's implied because of these memory problems that they talked about earlier. I wonder how many times he's asked these questions.
And then at one point, he asks her something, and she's like, "Well, I'm a Cancer." He's like, "You have cancer?" "No, it's my sign." Like,
oh God, not this again.
We then cut to like two nurses candidly talk about terminating the brain function of all the patients and how they are only good for their blood.
Yes, they're basically blood bags now.
Reg is able to escape from the room as Hector arrives at the station, now dressed as a cowboy.
Howdy, partner. Check out what I got in the trunk.
And Hector and a still alive Sam are able to trick and knock out the guard that kind of comes over to talk to him. We see Hector running towards a bunch of military vehicles and rigging explosives on them.
And gas cans.
Yep. Reg tries to sneak around the compound, but gets caught again. Sam shuts off all the generators, which gives Reg the opportunity to overpower her captor. Sam and Reg reunite and rescue the two kids from like the two nurses who are acting very creepy.
Yes.
Some goons show up to check on the kids, but find that the nurses are giggling, hooked up to anesthesia, and restrained with a note that says "Going to see Santa," because that's what they told the kids. They're like, "Oh, just take this and you'll live with Santa forever." Mm-hmm. The girls and the kids get in Hector's car, and the goons go to give chase, but Hector rigged their vehicles to explode.
Well, first he taunts them, so they'll actually go chase him.
I have exactly what he said. I thought it was a really good quote, and I'll read it for one of my quotes. We get one last jump scare as a mutant attacks the two kids, Brian and Sarah, as Hector shoots it in the head. Mm. We then cut to, I think we see some rain falling, the implication being the rain washed away all the dust.
Yes, because it clears the red out of the sky afterwards.
And we're back in the city. Reg is taking family pictures with the kids. Hector, with the kids and Hector, as Sam kind of laments still being alone. Here we are. Yeah. It's the end of the world, and I'm still the only one without a boy. And a car just kind of speeds up to
almost runs her over because she doesn't use the crosswalk.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying to maintain society here.
Acting like barbarians.
And he offers to take Sam for a ride. Hector objects. "We don't even know this guy." To which the boy introduces himself as Danny Mason Keener. And we see Reg put everything together.
DMK.
And we see his license plate that says DMK as he and Sam speed off as the credits start to roll. That's the end of the movie.
80s credit song.
That's Night of the Comet. An amazing film.
Yes. I would say probably one of my favorite things we've watched so far.
It was, oh my gosh, I was not expecting it to be as much fun as it was.
And hardly anybody ever talks about it.
Yep. Where do you want to start off for our minutia, Jeff?
Well, we've talked about the quotes so much. Let's start off with the quotes this time.
Right. You got a quote ready?
Oh, yeah. When the zombified neighbor kid breaks through the front door of Hector's old house, and he's like, "Well, there goes the neighborhood." The perfect action movie one-liner.
All right, so the one the one that we're talking about, where Hector taunts the goons at the military base at the end. "Hey, think tank, huh? Well, think over this," and he flips him the bird.
Yes, that was great. When Hector's skeptical about them practicing with their submachine guns, and Regina's like, "Come on, Hector, the MAC-10 submachine gun was practically designed for housewives."
When the line at the beginning of the movie that you and I were talking about, Mel, the theater owner, I'm gonna fire that guy someday. He's been doing to me what he's doing to her in the booth." Talking about Dupree fucking Reg.
That one. Where was? Oh yeah, the whole. You talked about it earlier when Sam's talking about her swiping all of her boyfriends, and she's like, "My sister, who swiped every guy I ever had my eye on, has now swiped the last guy in the whole freaked out world."
I didn't get the quote, but there's also the time when Sam and Reg are talking, and Sam's like, Do you think Hector might be gay? Maybe there'll be no guys for any of us."
Yeah, that was funny too.
Willie, the mutant leader at the mall, at one point says, "I'm not crazy. I just don't give a fuck."
Oh, one of the guys at the party her mom's party at the beginning. He's like in the background conversation, but he's like, well, yeah, everybody thought that the world was going to end when Halley's Comet returned in 1910, but nothing happened.
Yeah, I got that one. When Dupree is basically telling Reg to spend the night and help him make sure he gets the copy of the movie back. Are you kidding me? We spend the night in here making it and you give me $15? Do you know what that makes me look like?
Yes, that was a good one too. And of course, see, this is after her Mac 10 jams. She's like, see, this is the problem with these things. Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
And then the last one I had is when Sam kind of gets on the request line at the radio station and kind of starts to broadcast. She goes, I'll be taking requests from all you teenage Comet zombies on the hit line. And Teenage Comet Zombies was like the working title of the movie.
Yes. What Hector has a lot of good lines in this movie, but when he's tricking the guard, and he's like, yeah, she's dead, when he opens the trunk and shows him Sam, he's like, hell, she ain't dead. This doctor shot her up with sodium pentothal to make this fella think she was dead, so you wouldn't suck the blood out of her, you bastard, where he drops his cowboy accent.
Yeah. And then that's when he shoves the dude's head in the trunk, and then Sam like pulls it down and closes it on him. To knock him out or maybe kill him.
Oh, another great one-liner from Regina. When the zombie jumps out at the beginning in the alleyway, she's like, whoa, what is this? Trick or treat?
Should have been like, trick or treat was 2 months ago, buddy. Because it is at one point like the automated radio station is like, oh, 14 more shopping days left until Christmas. So we kind of know it is building up towards Christmas.
Oh, the nurses and the kids. And the nurse is like, you'll just fall asleep and then you'll see Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. And the kid's like, I don't believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah, Brian's like, I don't believe in Santa.
And the doctor's like, what? You don't believe in Santa?
So weird.
Oh, and the whole thing in the radio station after Hector and Regina spend the night together. And Sam's like, did you make it with him last night? And she's like, who? The good humor man. Who do you think?
That was a good one as well. Do you have any others? I'm all out of quotes.
Oh, another one from Sam. When she's like, you're not going to blame me because the phone went dead. I'm not the phone company. Nobody's the phone company anymore. I thought that one was pretty good.
Do we want to move on?
Yep.
All right. Let's Christmas sweater, favorite costume, set design, stuff like that.
Well, obviously, Hector's many costume changes.
That I had Hector's cowboy outfit was so good,
spot on. A great, good Santa suit too.
And I loved all the outfits. Like they're all very 80s.
Yes.
But I especially love like Reg's blue button-down shirt with the leather jacket combo. I thought that looked awesome. And then a little later on, after that, at the mall, she's wearing like a purple button-down shirt and like a handkerchief like ascot around her neck that's like also purple, and then a gray jacket. I thought that was a really cool combo too.
All of her outfits are pretty good. Sam usually dressed pretty good too. Yeah, we talked about Hector's costumes. I liked the like gray blue jumpsuits for the goons from like the government and stuff.
Yeah, much more like darker muted tones where everyone else is wearing brighter colors. Special shout out to the mall and the movie theater. Just cool sets. Like the fact that they were able to use them. Like,
oh, and shout outs to Mel because he looks exactly like what you would think your manager would look like.
I think I asked. Oh, it wasn't, but like the first time I saw him, I'm like, oh, is that the dad from Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yes, I mean he does have that look.
Yep. But yeah, just looks like an angry old like movie theater guy. Also, one thing we didn't mention, and it kind of occurred to me when I was watching it the second time, the opening with Reg playing the video game reminded me of Futurama, the first episode.
Oh yeah,
with where like space, the final frontier, and then a gorilla appears and starts throwing barrels at you, and then Fry, stop playing that video game and deliver these pizzas. Okay, Mr. Panucci. Like that, I saw that and I was like, oh, I bet that's where Futurama got that from, was Night of the Comet. Like,
so Night of the Comet had 4 taglines like on the posters and in the trailer. So this is the 4 taglines. I just wanted to make a note of this. The last thing on Earth they ever expected. They came, they shopped, they saved the world. the comet's coming and the world will never be the same. And the last time it came, the dinosaurs disappeared.
Those are all good ones.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good.
Do you want to move on to Christmas Spirit?
Yes.
How Christmassy is the movie? How Christmassy are the kills? Kills not at all
Yes.
Christmassy.
Kills not Christmassy. Well, I mean, unless you count overdosing those two on anesthesia and putting the note that they've gone to see Santa.
True, that's a good point. Like maybe that one.
But yeah, not very many Christmassy themed kills. But I mean, overall Christmassy, I'd say it was adequately Christmassy.
No, that like my kind of thought was like it's like the movie isn't overly Christmassy. Like it's not. We know it's taking place at Christmas time,
Yes.
but we don't know like that's not integral to the plot. It could be taking place at any point in time.
But they establish it even in the opening monologue. So it's like it does have. Well, and I think that's another reason too, maybe that there's so many people like available to come out and watch this comic because they're on Christmas break.
Mm-hmm. And unlike some of our recent movies, we've had some that aren't very Christmassy lately. We've had some that are, but certainly Trapped Alive, The American Scream, even to some extent, The Dorm That Dripped Blood. Like
Not that Christmassy.
none of those are very Christmassy. While like in this one, you are reminded that it's Christmas like over and over and over again.
They make sure that they do, so it's not just like window dressing.
Yeah, there's wreaths on like doors. You see tons of Christmas, especially in the mall scene. There are tons of Christmas trees, tons of garland, tons of Christmas lights.
I mean, even the radio station has some decorations up.
Yeah, and the radio station will occasionally like it's not playing Christmas music all the time, but every once in a while you cut to it will cut to a Christmas song being played, which I thought was really cool.
They put in enough work to like the background details to make it feel like it is taking place at Christmas time.
And even the movie theater has like a Merry Christmas sign and like has like the window painting and stuff like that with a picture of Santa. It says Merry Christmas. I thought it was cool that like you're reminded that it's Christmas time, but like Christmas isn't integral to the plot. And I just thought that was cool.
Having Hector show up in the Santa suit too adds a little bit.
Yeah. The one thing I would have liked is like, they cut to a bunch of like kind of 80s pop hits, like covered by, I think, not the originals, but covered by other bands. Like while girls just want to have fun to a mall shopping spree is great. Some of the others, it's like you could have picked like a Christmas song and done like an 80s cut, like one of the like 80s rock covers of a Christmas song. And it might have fit a little better, but
I mean, we could have had some Jingle Bell Rock in there.
But that's just kind of a nitpick. That's not really a big, it's not a big issue.
Yeah, I'd say I get what you're saying, but yeah, I'd say it was adequately Christmassy.
You want a broken bulb, brilliant bulb?
Sure.
You want to go first, or
Sure, I'll go first. My broken bulb was the kind of what you had started to mention when we watched it together the first time. The way that the government plot really isn't integrated into the rest of the movie that well. I would have liked to either have it be more involved, like from the very beginning, and not just like crop up like a third through the movie, or just have it cut out. One of the two, but it kind of butts up against the like teen survival element, like you were talking about before. And I noticed it on the second time through more because I was paying more attention to the details, not just watching the movie for the first time. But I mean, it doesn't really bring the movie down, but it just kind of feels out of place at some points.
no? It's the exact same. The one thing I would fix my broken bulb is that it's a personal preference, but I would have just dropped the whole military plot thing and just had more 80s teens fighting zombies. Mm-hmm. Like I think that like I said, my favorite part of the whole movie or my favorite moment is the mall fight, and I would have loved more stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And less, and with the military, it just kind of every time the military stuff happens, it slows down a little bit, and it just wasn't as fun to me as some of the rest of the movie.
And I mean, you could have taken the same basic plot element, just have it be like a group of survivors or whatever that are all infected. Be like, maybe if we capture people who aren't infected and drain their blood and transfuse it into us, it'll save us.
Yeah, that would have been a cool way to do it.
And then they could have fought like a weird mutant street gang or whatever that's trying to capture them for their blood.
Yeah, a little more like Warriors or something like that.
Well, and honestly, some of this movie reminded me a lot of another mid-'80s movie, Red Dawn. Kind of like some of the survival elements of it. I was like, they could have leaned more into that if they wanted to do a plot without the government.
Brilliant bulb, thing you want to shout out, thing you want to praise?
I wanted to shout out the effects and makeup work on their like tiny budget. So I thought the red filter over the sky was a really cool choice, like the matte paintings to expand the backgrounds of like LA, and like the miniature work on the government base is like insanely good. Like I would never even would I thought they just like maybe filmed at like some kind of like abandoned military base out in the desert, because there's quite a few of those in California. Or something like that. But no, apparently they built that miniature set and shot it in forced perspective.
I was kind of the same thing. The thing I would praise, My Brilliant Bulb, while the effects are very 80s, they kind of feel kind of it's a filter over kind of the top half of all the city scenes and stuff like that. It doesn't feel cheap or even like really that poorly made. It is of its time, but it still really holds up. Like it still looks really, really good. And, it's especially in the age of like Stranger Things. Like this just, it feels like it could have been made today, and you'd be like, yeah, this is a Stranger Things thing. Oh no, this was made in the 80s. Like,
honestly, I would say, if you want to know how to make a good movie on a low budget, I would have somebody watch this movie to get some pointers from it.
I mean, and I kind of ended it being like, now it's better than Stranger Things. I've watched all 4 seasons. I prefer this one movie to all 4 seasons of Stranger Things, minus that this doesn't have Steve Harrington, the hero of Stranger Things.
I wonder if Mike has watched this movie. I mean, he almost certainly has.
Oh, I'm sure he has.
But I mean, it seemed like maybe he used some of the same techniques, because I'm Dreaming of White Doomsday definitely doesn't feel as low budget as it really was.
Yeah, and we'll mention White Doomsday here again in a minute. But let's get into our final rating. Every episode we rate our movie based off of 1 of 3 categories. Is it ho 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 hilarious? Is it seasonally scary? Or is it you'll be sorry? Jeff?
I'm going seasonally scary for me, just because it's a really well-made film. All the actors, too, I just wanted to give a shout-out to that, because that was what I was going to pick if I didn't pick effects. Them all giving great performances and pitching in, because they all knew that it was a really tight budget, so they all tried to come up with ways to save money, like just doing the real slap to save filming time on that. Or like Robert Beltran said that he would just like do his own stunts and do his own... I think in an interview I watched, because he talked about it on a Voyager behind-the-scenes interview, that doing the whole cowboy bit was one of his ideas. And he said that the director really encouraged them, like if something went wrong during a shot or whatever, to just roll with it. And then if the reaction was good, they would just keep it in the movie. So that also helped cut down on filming time. And like I talked about earlier, like when they did the whole, okay, we won't close down a section of the city because that costs a fortune. We'll just hold traffic for a few minutes, film, and then let it go through and film again. Or like filming late at night at the mall so they didn't have to pay to close it, stuff like that. I mean, it's a great movie. I think you should watch it if you haven't already. I mean, rewatch it if you have, because I enjoyed it just as much the second time watching.
And like you were saying, Robert Beltran, like doing his own stunts and stuff like that. Catherine, Mary, I think everyone did. Like,
yeah,
I think
pretty much everybody did, unless it was something like Too Insanely Dangerous.
I think literally the only stunt that Catherine Mary Stewart didn't do was what was the motorcycle stuff. Like those are all a stunt double, but otherwise every other scene is her.
Well, and I mean, like motorcycle stuff, the cops, literally, we talked about that earlier, that helped direct the traffic to film in downtown LA, did the motorcycle cop thing. It's like, well, we could try and get 2 stuntmen to be cops on motorcycles, or we could just have these guys actually do it.
Yep. My final rating is ho 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 hilarious. There's a couple good scares, but it's not overly scary. It's just a fun, silly movie. And it's really just so much fun. Like I had a blast watching this both times. I watched it through. Sometimes we sit there dreading watching it again. You and I have both lamented that to ourselves.
The American Scream.
And this one was such a blast. So much fun. I loved all the characters. They all felt very real to me. It felt kind of like real conversations that sisters would have. Honestly, I kind of felt like an idiot for not having seen the movie sooner. Like,
yeah.
It's so dang good, and like I'm shocked that no one has said to me like, "Have you seen Night of the Comet? This movie's a blast." Like,
Maybe people have seen it, they just don't talk about it, because obviously my dad had seen it before we did.
But yeah, like just, besides like my few like couple nitpicks, like, there's a couple things that I would do if I had made the movie, like would have done differently. But besides those, like, this movie's great. This movie's fantastic. Like, watch this movie.
The soundtrack is great too.
Yep. Yeah, as we mentioned, let's figure out who our bad guy is and put them on the naughty list.
Well, do you want to do the Comet for its apocalyptic factor, or do you want to do the blood-stealing scientist?
Oh, see, I was going to say the Comet. I was going to say the zombie-making Comet, and then try and figure out, is the nuclear apocalypse from I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday better or worse than the zombie apocalypse made by the Comet, Night of the Comet?
Well, I guess it depends. I would say the nuclear apocalypse is probably worse because it like shuts off huge areas of the world from you. Because this, while it did exterminate most of the people, didn't actually do anything lasting to the planet. So the people who are left could just kind of live normally.
I was going to say, if we're going to put it right around there, like the movie I would most compare it to is Black Friday. Like, very similar. And
yeah.
This wiped out more people than Black Friday. Like Black Friday, there's still heavy implication. Lots of people are still alive. Mm-hmm. And so, maybe they do kill off all the aliens at the end of Black Friday. So, I'd put this below White Doomsday, but above Black Friday. I'd put the Comet below the nuclear apocalypse, but above the alien zombie outbreak in Black Friday.
I don't know, because in the alien zombie outbreak, the alien zombies could win. I mean, the Comet has came and went, so there's really no threat left to the survivors.
It'll come back again in 75 million years.
I was going to say, that's not going to be any of our characters' problems. But, so I don't know. It's like, do you take the instant destruction of, like, most of humanity or the long-term possible extermination of humanity?
I just, the fact that a bunch of Toy Store employees were able to fight off a bunch of alien zombies.
I mean, yeah, at the cost of almost all of their lives.
But as opposed to, like, 3 teenagers in the 80s, essentially teenagers on bikes, like, able to fight off a zombie apocalypse caused by a comet. Like, it's pretty close. I think I'd put Night of the Comet, the comet above the zombies from the alien zombies, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, they do have a built-in kill switch, though, as they're going to turn to dust over time.
True.
So I don't know. This could be contentious, but I don't know. I would say probably, since there is probably fewer survivors from this, I would put it above Black Friday.
Yeah, I just think it's more deadly. And let's not forget, it also supposedly wiped out all the dinosaurs.
Well, yes. But contrary to QAnon videos I've seen, the dinosaurs did not actually build metal buildings.
Oh, Jeff, you need to get off YouTube. except we broadcast this on YouTube.
Never mind. Stay on YouTube.
Oh man, I gotta DQ pill my co-host here.
Dinosaurs can't melt steel beams.
All right, let's respond to a query as we clean out our email inbox in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day. Huh? No.
All right. And so we actually have some correspondence this week to respond to.
Boy.
Jeff and I have kind of a long story to go into, but we got a request from one of our Twitter followers, Daisy Shylass. I posted about that spooky season just got a little more spooky with an additional Mountain Dew being released, and not just Voodoo 5, but also Pitch Black Slurpees going to 7-Eleven and Speedways, although, our closest Speedway is
about 300 miles to the north of here.
At least 2 hours, 3 hours to the north of us. And our Twitter follower, Daisy, basically said they were jealous of us, and we basically if we wind up getting it to do a review on the podcast. So on Tuesday, I dropped my kids off at school, hopped in my car, went and picked Jeff up, and we went on an adventure to go get some Mountain Dew Pitch Black Slurpees.
And 6 hours later, we returned, having spent $1.
So we had gone, and I picked up Jeff. It was about 10 a.m., a little later than 10.
We were like, don't worry about it. There's a speedway right over the border in Minnesota. It'll only take us 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to get back.
Yeah. There's one right in Albert Lee. We'll get there. So we drive up there. We're having a blast, just chatting, talking about Aaron Rodgers tearing his ACL and how it was, while sad, very funny that it happened.
On the very first game.
On the very first game, 4 plays in. Like, what's the funniest thing that could happen? Oh, Aaron Rodgers immediately injures himself. Packers don't get their 65% of snaps. The Jets don't get the usage of a Hall of Fame quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't get another chance at a Super Bowl. Like,
oof.
Yeah, just shitty all around, but very funny that it happened that way.
And then we pulled up to the speedway, and we instantly knew something was wrong.
Yeah, we got into Albert Lee. We got on we avoid going to Blue Earth, and we pulled up to the speedway. We just looked at it, and we're like, I don't know. I don't even know if it's open. I think that was kind of the first thought we had. There were
desolate. It was the very night of the Comet.
It was. I think it was like a gravel parking lot. Yes,
it was, and it had diesel gas pumps from like the early 70s.
It I don't know how many of our listeners are based in the Des Moines area. It looks like the Casey's on Northeast 14th. Mm-hmm. Like it looks, which like that one always looks so desolate and deserted. Like,
but. Long story short, they did not have the Slurpee.
Yeah, we parked, and they saw us coming a mile away. Yes. They looked at us, and they were like, "Oh, look at the here comes me and Jeff, walking in, me wearing my pink Frankenberry Crocs."
They're like, "Uh-oh, it's a couple of those guys."
Yeah, it's a couple. Look at these two weird. They had us pegged. They're like, "Oh, I bet these guys are looking for the pitch black Slurpee."
Yeah.
And so we kind of walked around, didn't see it.
So we got our snacks and continued on the road.
Yeah, we got a couple snacks, and we were like, all right, and so I pulled up like speedways near us, and there were about 5 more, and we were just like, do we really want to go to 5, just drive around southern Minnesota looking for the speedway that has this. And Jeff, you pulled up.
Yes, I saw that there was a Speedway Travel Center about another hour north of us. And I was like, well, it's going to be the biggest speedway in this area probably, so if it doesn't have it, none of them will.
So many of them were Speedway gas only. Mm-hmm. And this one was at least a Speedway Travel Center.
Yes.
And so we were, okay, let's give that one a try. So we hop in, and they threw everything in our way to stop us. We had...
Oh, man, there were construction blocking the road. There were incredibly slow drivers in the left lane. There were cops sitting waiting to ambush us at every turn.
We got distracted by China Restaurant.
Yes. Oh my God, there was China Restaurant. There was the Pine Travel Plaza, which will come back into a story later.
Just all sorts of things that just made us go like, is this worth it? And we pulled off at a Feruza Bulk or Fair Bulk,
Minnesota.
And we pulled up, and we're like, okay, this looks like it might be good.
It's our best shot.
It's a concrete building, and we get out of the car.
There was a guy jacking off against the wall. It turns out he was just hooking up a hose for a power washer.
But yeah, totally looked like that. And he turned around.
He looked at us, and he's like, I bet they thought I was jacking off against this wall.
Made the fact that he turned and looked at us after we parked, and he's like standing there like fiddling around at waist height. It's like, like the look on his face was like he had just been caught beating it. Like, and so we get out of the car, and we go around to go in one entrance, and immediately like that, by where we thought the guy was jerking it, and like they'd closed off that entrance. So once again, we're being foiled in our attempts,
thwarted in our attempts to get the Slurpee.
And so we go around to the other side of the store. We get in, and There's no signs on the store that they even have Slurpees or anything like that. So we're already we're a little nervous, and we kind of walk around the perimeter of the inside of the store, and we see the little. The first thing I saw was the sign at the top with the purple Slurpee logo, the purple and green, and I was like, oh, maybe. And immediately, like Jeff and I start walking faster as we're pushing our way through the store.
Gotta get to the Slurpees. What if there's only one left?
And we round the corner, and boom, right there,
the object of our quest.
And so we each grabbed a Slurpee, filled up a big cup.
The mighty size.
I think they've got green and purple, and we got green cups each.
Yes. And of course, I got my customary 2 buffalo chicken rollers I get on every road trip.
And so we go up and there's 2 people working, and Jeff and I pay for our food. And I tell the guy, "Oh no, the only we're from Des Moines, and literally this is the only reason we're here."
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Oh well, I hope you enjoy it." Like, thought we were fucking
insane.
crazy.
And it turns out, mighty sized Slurpee is only $1.
I know, I was so impressed. Like, that's so cool.
That's what I told my wife. I was like, we drove for 6 hours to spend $1.
And so we get out to the car and we start take a couple pictures, try the pitch black Slurpee, and
I mean, great.
I had never had a Slurpee before. I think you'd said the same thing.
Yep, my first Slurpee.
And I can see why Slurpees are such a big deal. Mm-hmm. Like, it was smooth. It stayed cold. It kept its consistency.
Yes, it was frozen for like a good hour and a half afterwards.
Yeah, I drank it as we kind of drove back down, and we stopped for lunch. We'll get back to that in a second. And we left, grabbed some lunch, came back in, and it was I still had just a chunk of Slurpee ice down in the bottom of my cup.
Mm-hmm. Yep, true.
And, but yeah, I tasted like, to me, it still had kind of that sour hint of pitch black. What makes pitch black so good is kind of that sour grape flavor. Mm-hmm. Incredibly smooth. Like, tasted just like pitch black. The fact that you can get, Voodoo 7 and pitch black at the same time, like, because pitch black was like the original Halloween Mountain Dew. It's just a blast. Unlike
a lot of the quote unquote ices out there, this actually tastes like what it's made from.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, instantly I was reminded of pitch black. Mm-hmm. Like, loved it.
Yes, it was great. Great experience. Totally worth the trip.
And so we drive back down. We're trying to find a place to stop. We debated stopping at Famous Dave's because it had best ribs.
I know, best ribs in the entire universe. But we decided to skip that, and we skipped Culver's because they gave Jay food poisoning.
that one time. And
but we wanted to. I don't know if you do, but I want to give a quick shout out to Dinosaur Dracula's spooky playlist.
Yeah, we put that on
us through the last hour of the drive.
Yeah, that was fun. We were trying to find something to listen to, and I was like, oh yeah, the Dinosaur Dracula has his Halloween jukebox up, so we listened to that on the way up. For our last hour of the drive. And then we went to the Pinewood Lodge, which is like the first big stop right on the other side of the Minnesota border.
Cool Viking themed stuff inside.
And we got some Taco Bell.
Yes, the best restaurant in the entire place.
And I think you and I both said, like, well, I mean, we'll go to Taco Bell, we'll get a Baja Blast. Sure, I just had something that was Mountain Dew based, but yeah, I'll get one again.
Yes, why not? And of course, we got there. I get my Baja Blast. Jay gets his and instantly destroys the machine.
Yeah, it starts sputtering and like making all sorts of noises.
So we got the 2 last Baja Blasts in the whole place.
We sit down. And you're like, was it good Taco Bell? No, it was at a truck stop. But was it Taco Bell? Yes. So that makes it better than most other places.
I mean, it was Taco Bell, and it was right next to a Pizza Hut and a McDonald's. So it's like, what are you really going to pick?
And so we ate our lunch, got back in the car. Like I said, still had a Slurpee left in the bottom of the cup.
Still frozen in the bottom of the cup.
Finished that up, got in the car, and decided to just switch on Sirius XM. I got a new car, so we've got a free trial of Sirius XM at the moment. And we were kind of just surfing the channels trying to find something to listen to, and we settled on Faction Punk, which is one of my favorite stations to listen to. And then to entertain us for like our last hour of the drive, a Interrupters song came on, and then at one point they're like, and now it's time for the Sirius XM breakdown.
Breaking it down on Sirius XM.
And Jeff and I like literally looked at each other, our mouths agape at like what we've heard, and then we proceeded to try to fit the words Sirius XM breakdown into every song going forward the rest of our trip down.
And that made the rest of the trip pretty short.
And so I got back to Jeff's place, dropped him off, and then continued on home. But certainly, rating the Slurpee 10 out of 10.
Yes, I would agree. I would get a Slurpee again.
I would honestly probably put a Slurpee above an Icy.
No, I think so too. Icy just doesn't do it for me.
Like I'm a big Icy fan. I loved that green Icy that they had for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fusion Mania or whatever they called it, the new movie. Like, loved that, thought it was great. But Mutant Mayhem, there we go. But the new, oh man, that Slurpee was so much better than any icy I'd ever had.
I'm not going to be able to go back to any other kind of icy, I don't think.
And it's just a shame. We have no, the closest Speedway is, 3 hours away. The closest 7-Eleven, I think, is maybe down in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so, like, it's impossible to get another Slurpee, but anytime I see, like, a 7-Eleven or a Speedway going forward, I am going to stop to try and get a fucking Slurpee. Like,
it's not impossible. We've talked of a way. We could take a hot cold bag up there, or one of my brother's, like, insulated lunch coolers, fill it full of $1 Slurpees and bring it back.
Yeah, and just have Slurpees for...
Put Slurpees in the freezer for later.
Also, it was really funny, because it was Tuesday. Like, gas prices shot through the roof on Tuesday, and then immediately we get back to town, and they shoot back down to, like, where they were.
Yeah.
Like, so I spent, like, a good, like, $100 in gas.
Yes, for no.
Just to, like, if we had gone a day later, everything would have been fine.
If we had gone Monday or Wednesday, you probably would have saved like $20 a day.
So wild. Absolutely ridiculous.
Thanks, Uncle Joe.
Oh man. But let's kind of round out the episode. If you want to follow us, if you like Daisy Shylass wants to communicate with us on Twitter.
Are you communicating with me?
You can get us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads. We are at horror4 holidays. If you want to send us an email for our Garbage Day segment.
Excuse me, Jay. I think what you meant to say was X.
I will never call it that. Fuck Elon Musk. If you want to send us an email, our email address is horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com.
Of course, you could view the audio backups, or where a lot of people just watch the show, apparently, youtube.com/horrorfortheholidays.
Yeah, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff.
Go add to our most viewed episode ever, The Dorm That Dripped Blood.
Yeah, well, over 100 views, which is really awesome. Like, I never pictured that we would... Yeah, I thought, well, maybe someday, but I did not picture that episode.
Not this soon, no.
And and thanks to Matt for helping to promote it and do stuff like that. He's been a blast and someone who's really fun to work with. And speaking of Matt, he sent us a copy of the original Pranks poster that he just got framed the other day.
Yes, and very supportive of the podcast.
Let's see what else. Subscribe to us on YouTube or on your podcatcher of choice.
We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I'll go ahead and elaborate. So, the Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular. We will be doing a Halloween themed episode every week in October, leading up to Halloween.
Yep, I've been filling my fridge and cupboard with
things for me to eat.
Yep, things for Jeff to shove in his face holes.
Yes. And some more announcements about the show to come after that, most likely. But we'll see you every week, so that'll be weird. Yeah,
and we'll do our best to get episodes out every week in October, and then we'll kind of see how it feels from there. And we're thinking about trying to go weekly, but we'll
be given more information on those plans to come.
Yeah, just kind of depends on scheduling and stuff like that. It might be immediate, it might not be till the new year. We'll just kind of figure it out as we go. But yeah, stay tuned. Our next episode will be, the first, I think, Monday, October 2nd. Mm-hmm. And will be a Halloween episode, and we'll follow that up the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th. Halloween episode every week.
Even a Beggar's Night special.
Yep. So, I think we've kind of got some movies picked out, and as you know from last year when we did All Horror for the Howl's Day Eve.
Yes.
We'll do another. We'll certainly do another Halloween movie.
Oh,
but
yes.
We'll do another.
Definitely.
We've got some other Halloween adjacent movies to pick from as well.
And of course, I don't know if we do end up launching our weekly thing. We might end up talking about Thanksgiving that's coming out this year.
That does look very fun.
Saw a trailer for it at the Nun last night, and yes, it does look very interesting.
And we're working on getting some more guests here in the coming months. A couple things in the pipeline. We're also we've reached out to someone to maybe get another director of a movie, but we'll have to. I'd like to review the movie first before we get the person on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're working on some more guests, and I think those guest episodes have been a lot of fun.
Yep, I agree.
And so, yeah, more information as it comes. But yeah, certainly stay tuned for all of October as we do our Halloween Spooktacular.
Big things are happening, and not just with the hosts.
I was going to say, like, we were waddling up to the speedways.
Yes.
But yeah, see us again. We'll see you guys again in 2 weeks, and then every week in October. And other than that, thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye.